Wildcrafting Living Air, Understanding Qi and the Circadian Rhythms. I'm Don Elzer, and this is a podcast from the Wildcraft Forest School. The focus of this presentation is to explain living air and how it exists in nature, learn why living air is important, learn about living air as a function of life force or Qi, explain how relationships are fed by life force, and then to discover how we as humans can engage with these relationships. First, a bit about the importance of trees. Trees renew our air supply by absorbing carbon dioxide and producing oxygen. One tree produces nearly 260 pounds of oxygen each year. The amount of oxygen produced by an acre of trees per year equals the amount consumed by 18 people annually. 1 acre of trees removes up to 2.6 tons of carbon dioxide each year. Trees lower air temperature by evaporating water in their leaves. Tree roots stabilize soil and prevent erosion. Trees improve water quality by slowing and filtering rainwater, as well as protecting aquifers and watersheds. The process by which trees provide us with oxygen serves as a platform to describe living air. When a tree produces oxygen, it does so with the support from a complex web of life forms, each contributing an important role. We might describe this as an ecosystem, and more accurately, a forest ecosystem. An ecosystem is composed of two main components, biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors are the living parts of the ecosystem, such as plants, animals, insects, fungi, and bacteria. Abiotic factors are the non-living parts of the ecosystem, which influence the size and composition of the living parts. These are components like minerals, light, heat, rocks, and water, and of course, the sun. The biotic and abiotic relationship found in our lakes, rivers, and oceans creates and disperses living air. This process has been well studied. Scientists estimate that 50 to 80% of the oxygen production on Earth comes from our oceans. The majority of this production is from oceanic plankton, which represents drifting plants, algae, and some bacteria that can photosynthesize. A great deal of oxygen production comes from our forests. Plants and trees require the sun in order to create photosynthesis. This is at the core of life force. And as this power unfolds, it spills an immense amount of living microbial material into the air. This natural mix of biotic material from plants with the oxygen they produce becomes living air. This biotic soup of life is called aeroplankton. These tiny life forms that float and drift in the air, carried by the current of the wind, represent the atmospheric analog to oceanic plankton. However, this natural function remains largely unexplored. Aeroplankton is made up of numerous biotic microbes, including viruses, about 1,000 different species of bacteria, around 40,000 varieties of fungi, and hundreds of species of protists, algae, mosses, and liverworts that live some part of their life cycle as aeroplankton, often as spores, pollen, and wind-scattered seeds. Phytoncides are volatile organic compounds derived from many plants and trees. More than 5,000 volatile substances defend plants that protect them from bacteria, fungi, and insects. Phytoncides work by inhibiting or preventing the growth of the attacking organism. Every day in a forest, these substances become airborne as emissions and add themselves to the aeroplankton soup of living air. Aeroplankton deposits hundreds of millions of airborne biotic substances every day on every square meter around the planet. And at the end of each day, our body becomes coated with these substances, which contribute to the individual human microbiome. As we inhale this living air, and as it makes its way through our pores, it contributes to our internal metabolism. At any given time, the human microbiome may weigh as much as 5 pounds. The bacteria in the microbiome helps us to digest our food, regulate our immune system, protect against other bacteria that cause disease, and produce vitamins such as B vitamins like B12, thiamine, riboflavin, and vitamin K, which is needed for blood coagulation. Abiotic processes and disturbances, such as those generated by wind, evaporation, rain, or water, bubbling or splashes, causes microbial biotic cells to be transported upwards by turbulent air fluxes. They remain aloft for an average of 3 days, where they can settle and dwell as living air close to their source. Or with high winds, they can be transported across oceans and continents until finally being deposited by the rain. Within a rainforest, living air is naturally heavy from the weight of condensation and precipitation. This ecology provides a rich opportunity to be exposed to pristine living air. The process of living air as it makes its way through air currents is also referred to as microbial aerosols, which can form clouds and trigger precipitation by serving as cloud condensation nuclei and ice nuclei. Living airborne microorganisms actually colonize cloud water droplets, and at high altitudes can create entire microbial ecosystems, which serve as temporary habitats that can travel around the globe on air currents. Much of how this works is still largely unknown to us. The importance of life force. We are not exposed to enough living air. In nature, the vast majority of airborne microbes originate from natural environments like soil and plants. The degree of exposure depends on climate, season, biomass, and biodiversity. However, depending on where you live and your lifestyle, you may be exposed to a significant imbalance when it comes to the kinds of biotic life that lives in the air. This, combined with other human-introduced pathogens, can create certain opportunists, which can cause potential hazards to the individual and to entire communities of people and species. Within the biotic framework, there are composers, consumers, and decomposers. Composers are all plants that can create their own food through photosynthesis and the power of the sun. Consumers are all life forms that cannot create their own food and require composers or other consumers for food. Decomposers are fungi and other life forms that depend on the death and decay of others in order to survive. In urban environments, not only are there fewer plants and trees to provide the living air, but there are also more industrial toxins, which will deteriorate the microbial balance that required for healthy biodiversity. This places stress on the human microbiome. It also places stress on other life forms which require a healthy transmission of aerial plankton. Every living being has an acquired immune system, and with the help of the innate system, antibodies are produced that will protect the body from specific invaders. The immune system is a complex network of cells and proteins that defends the body against infection. The immune system keeps a record of every germ or microbe it has ever detected, so it can recognize and destroy the microbe quickly if it enters the body again. In nature, our immune system has evolved over millions of years in a slow process whereby it learned to combat new or changing threats. But today, with the emergence of toxins and many human-derived threats, our natural immune system is working overtime and often burns out because we are too removed from nature. The chi field and balance. For the most part, in a society separated from nature, the very idea that tens of millions of microbes drifting through the air terrifies us. We have products, systems, and ideas that will exterminate, sterilize, and combat air in order to purify it into our own idea of what air should be, a sterile element that offers us no risk of contamination. We seem to have forgotten that the human species best thrives in a wild biodiversity, supported by a natural balance and our evolved ability to maintain that balance. Wild biotic systems are made up of relationships, and if that balance is maintained, a healthy forest ecosystem will emerge. When it does, the emissions that it creates combines with the fresh oxygen created by plants and trees, and this becomes pure living air. The ancient Chinese described this life force as qi. They believed it permeated into everything at source, and then provided the means by which everything was linked together. Qi was also linked to the flow of energy around and through the human body, forming a cohesive functioning unit. By understanding the rhythm and flow of qi, they believed they could guide exercises and treatments to provide stability and a long, healthy life. In nature and the forest, qi represents abiotic energy, which then materializes biotic energy, which can be explained as yin or yang. The channels connecting qi with yin and yang are meridians, which represent a web of biological electricity or frequency. A mother tree is central to understanding this process and balance. This tree will have a side that faces the sun and one that represents the shade. The sun, as qi, forms a qi field within the exposed area. This becomes yang, or the light. In the shaded field is yin, or where darkness dwells. Ideally, the entire qi field around the tree becomes balanced between the two. Qi, as a life force, in this raw, wild state, is complicated and is held together by an orderly form of chaos, far beyond the human sense of imagination. The south side of the tree is next to the north side of its neighbor. They seem like opposites, but in fact they represent a perfect example of yin-yang balance. This balance creates a collective force, that is the forest, and then the forest itself becomes a single unit of life force that pools energy that influences an entire planet. This natural architecture provides humans with a great lesson. When balance is reached by the individual and then pooled with others, a great cosmic force is achieved. This entire process is held together by relationships. As humans, our health is directly related to the health of the planet and all of these small wild ecosystems. In order for us to restore and regenerate all of this, we have to first heal the yin and yang relationships held by nature so that the qi field can be restored. When qi is in disarray, misfortune envelops the space. Gaia seeks to ensure that cosmic energy remains in balance. However, human beings have thrown nature out of balance. Cosmic forces are then out of alignment, causing qi to be in disarray. What is required is a strong human effort to help nature restore herself so that balance can be returned. The forest functions as a living organism, and central to its existence are seed trees, also known as mother trees. This network of life creates sentient energies that are powered by the mother tree, which provides a conduit for life force and yin-yang relationships. From place to place, the wild forest has different energies depending on where mother trees are located. The ancients knew this power. Each plant in the understory and the midstory plays a role as a guardian, as does the chi force, which consists of the sun, the soil, water, and of course, the living air. The circadian rhythm. As the sun provides the primary influence for creating life force, it presents a cosmic cycle by which all life is affected. Living air becomes alive in the daylight. Every plant and tree awakens with sun, and photosynthesis becomes fully engaged. This cycle of light is a frequency that moves beyond light itself. It manifests as energy, color, sound, and behavior. We have come to know this as the circadian rhythm or cycle. In mammals, including humans, the circadian rhythm is a natural internal process that regulates the sleep and wake cycles and repeats roughly every 24 hours. These daily rhythms influence the body and mind, including signals that make someone feel tired, then to sleep, and wake up and to feel alert around the same time each day. The pineal gland secretes melatonin, which is a hormone that helps regulate circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythm refers to any process that originates within an organism and creates a connection from the being to the environment. The rhythm is directly connected to the pineal gland and 20,000 nerve cells or neurons, which together serves as a master clock in the brain and coordinates all the biological clocks in a living being, keeping the clocks in sync. We are still in the very early stages of understanding this process and how it works. Even to the ancients, understanding every aspect of the pineal gland, known as the third eye, was a cosmic mystery. When we stretch to understand circadian rhythms, we can strongly surmise that both light and nutrients will play a role within this biological process, as will toxins and toxic environments. We know that too much artificial light plays a negative role. So in a balanced, healthy environment, natural light priming living air formations making contact with our pineal gland will provide the architecture for the various mental, emotional, and physical cycles we experience. We know that we can exercise and strengthen the natural relationships found in the chi field, which then enhance positive occurrences and mitigates negative ones. We know that circadian rhythms, or the circadian clock, can prolong life or can reduce it. We need to expose ourselves to more living air, and we need to strengthen our natural circadian rhythms. How do we enlist nature to help? First, increase your dwell time in nature. Then, exercise the pineal gland. Engage with trees, phytoncides, stewardship, forest meditation, and light. Natural light. Shift your ideas about time. Build wild relationships. Map and understand living air flows. And reduce decomposer exposure and energies. In closing, in ancient Chinese philosophy, yin and yang relates to bright and black, or positive, negative, and is a concept of dualism, describing how seemingly opposite or contrary forces might actually be complementary, interconnected, and interdependent in the natural world. This dualism demonstrates how everything interrelates with each other. In Chinese cosmology, the universe creates itself out of a primary chaos of material energy, organized into the cycles of yin and yang, and formed into objects and lives. Yin and yang can be thought of as complementary rather than opposing forces that interact and form a dynamic system in which the whole is greater than the assembled parts. According to this philosophy, everything has both yin and yang aspects. For instance, shadow cannot exist without light. In this presentation, we have used Chinese traditional medicine as the example by which we have explained life force and the role of living air, as well as the importance for balance in nature. But in fact, many ancient cultures, including indigenous people, followed similar beliefs and ethics. At the Wildcraft Forest School, we have developed teachings related to this subject, and we offer an advanced program for understanding and working with plant spirit medicine in conjunction with forest-based Feng Shui. By understanding a forest qi field, one can calculate the balance of qi and certain interactions between natural frequencies which relate to both Chinese and Ayurvedic approaches to medicine. This program offers an opportunity to learn how stewardship can be linked to medicine and can assist participants in both career and self-employment endeavors, especially suited for education, healthcare, food, nutrition, outdoor recreation, and natural resource stewardship. These teachings include an understanding of what we call the Mother Tree regenerative system, which supports the mission of wildcrafting in the following ways. First, we will support causes and actions that would never cut down a mother tree. We recognize that medicinal and food plants need to be harvested from areas where the appropriate elemental energies exist for the heart, mind, etc. Transforms wildcrafters into light workers between the mother tree and humanity. Fourth, we recognize that wood for a house and a home requires that it be harvested in an area where qi has the power of love and nurture. Fifth, recognizes that wood for building or a business structure requires that it be harvested in an area where qi has the power of prosperity and good luck. 6, encourages everyone to not accept clear-cutting methods because the wood is without proper qi and will be bad luck. This seeks to change the current practice of industrialized resource extraction. And then finally, the system sends a message that we need to protect and stay within the reach of the mother tree. We hope you have enjoyed this presentation. If you're listening or viewing this within a course or workshop event, there will be a question and answer period as well. I'm Don Elzer. Thank you for spending time with me in the Wildcraft Forest School. Farewell for now.